Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something today that, honestly, when I first look at the research packet, I thought was a mistake.
Like a clerical error?
Exactly, like a
Yes.
clerical error in the research department. Because we are attempting to synthesize two philosophers who are so uh, diametrically opposed that putting them in the same conversation feels like trying to mix oil and water.
Or maybe more like mixing fire in a wet blanket.
Yeah, a wet blanket is perfect.
It does sound like a recipe for a philosophical explosion, doesn't it?
Hmm.
But sometimes the most interesting chemistry happens when you mix volatile ingredients.
I mean, let's just look at the lineup here. In the red corner, we have Epicurus. And for most of us, including me until about, I don't know, 3 hours ago, the word Epicurean conjures up images of fancy feasts.
Right. The wine tasting?
Yeah, wine tasting, 5-course meals, maybe a toga party. The guy is basically the ancient mascot for treating yourself.
Which is, ironically, the exact opposite of what he actually taught.
Yeah.
But yes, history has basically branded him the party guy,
Mhm.
the patron saint of hedonism.
Right. And then in the blue corner, or maybe the pitch black corner, we have Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th century German philosopher who is colloquially known as the Grump of Frankfurt.
The ultimate pessimist.
The ultimate pessimist, the
Ah.
guy who looked at the miracle of existence, shrugged, and said, I'd really rather not.
I'd rather not, is putting it mildly. I mean, Schopenhauer believed that life is fundamentally driven by this blind, irrational, insatiable force.
Right.
And that because of this, existence is essentially suffering. He is not the guy you hire to give a commencement speech.
Definitely not. So we have the supposed party guy and the definitive killjoy. And our mission today for this deep dive is to mash them together. We've gone through a massive stack of sources, primary texts, modern interpretations, biographical notes, and the aha moment for this deep dive is actually kind of shocking.
It really is.
It turns out, if you lock these two in a room, they don't fight. They actually finish each other's sentences.
They really do. It's
Yeah.
one of the great ironies of philosophy. You have two thinkers starting from completely different premises. Epicurus saying pleasure is the only good, and Schopenhauer saying life is nothing but pain. And yet, if you look at their daily schedules, their advice on how to live a Tuesday, it is almost identical.
That is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're calling it the peaceful pessimist. It's a toolkit for modern living. We are going to try to build a guide for a peaceful life by using Schopenhauer's dark realism to diagnose the problem and Epicurus' surprising asceticism to prescribe the cure.
It's the ultimate synthesis.
It is. But before we get there, I have to ask a question that I think everyone listening is probably thinking right now.
Yes.
Why on earth would you want to take advice from a pessimist? I mean, life is hard enough. The news is stressful. Work is demanding. Why would you tune in to hear a guy tell you that existence is just a huge mistake? Isn't that just toxic?
It's a really fair question. And if you read Schopenhauer on a bad day, without any context, it can definitely feel toxic.
Yeah.
But think about the alternative we were usually fed. We live in a culture of toxic positivity.
Good vibes only.
Exactly. Good vibes only. Manifest your dreams. Everything happens for a reason.
Sure, but that's hopeful. People like hope.
Is it hope, though? Or is it delusion?
Yeah.
The problem with constant optimism is that when things inevitably go wrong, when you don't get the job, when you get sick, when you feel empty, you don't just feel bad about the event itself.
You feel bad that you feel bad.
Yes, you feel bad that you feel bad. You think, I'm supposed to be happy, so there must be something deeply wrong with me.
That's very true. It adds this whole extra layer of guilt to the suffering.
Exactly. And Schopenhauer cuts right through that. He's the doctor who doesn't tell you it's just a scratch when you have a broken leg. He says, look, your leg is broken. It hurts because it's broken. That is the nature of legs and physics. We aren't listening to him for moral support. We are listening to him for the diagnosis. He explains the mechanics of why we are dissatisfied.
So Schopenhauer is the diagnosis. And Epicurus.
Epicurus provides the prescription. Once we accept the brutal truth of the diagnosis, Epicurus tells us how to navigate it without losing our minds.
Okay, so if Schopenhauer tells you that you have a headache because you're banging your head against a wall, Epicurus is the one who gently takes you by the shoulders and shows you how to stop banging your head.
That is the perfect analogy. And the goal here isn't happiness in the way we usually see it in movies. That ecstatic, jump for joy, confetti cannon happiness.
Because that's not sustainable.
Right. If you chase that, you will absolutely be miserable. The goal today is something the Greeks called ataraxia.
Ataraxia. Let's define that clearly because I know it's going to come up a lot in this deep dive.
It translates roughly to tranquility or unshakability. It's freedom from mental disturbance. It's not the high of a roller coaster. It's the calm of a still lake. We aren't trying to be manic happy. We are trying to be significantly less miserable than everyone else.
Significantly less miserable than everyone else. You know what? That lowers the bar in a way that actually feels like a huge relief. I can feel my shoulders dropping already.
That's the pessimism working.
So let's get into the diagnosis. Section 1. Why are we unhappy? And we have to start with the scary concept here, Schopenhauer's will.
The will. This is the cornerstone of his entire philosophy. And we really need to be careful here because when we say will, we usually mean willpower. Like, I have the will to stick to my diet.
Right. Or where there's a will, there's a way. Conscious choice.
Schopenhauer means something almost the exact opposite of that. For him, the will is a metaphysical monster. It is a blind, striving, energetic force that drives the entire universe. It is the thing that makes a plant push its roots through solid concrete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the thing that makes a magnet snap onto a fridge. It's the thing that makes a tiger hunt.
Okay, but isn't that just nature or biology? It sounds like he's just describing the basic survival instinct.
He is describing that, but he takes it a lot deeper. Darwin would say that tiger hunts to survive and propagate the species. There's a logic to it. Schopenhauer looks at that and asks, to what end? And his answer is, no end. The will is blind.
It doesn't have a goal.
It doesn't have a goal, it just wants more. It wants to exist, to consume, to devour, to reproduce. It's this churning engine that never turns off.
And in humans, how does that work in us?
In humans, this blind force manifests as desire, as wanting. We think we have logical reasons for what we do. You think, I want that promotion because I want to self-actualize and provide for my family.
Which sounds very reasonable.
It does. But Schopenhauer laughs at that. He says, no, you want the promotion because the will is a hungry beast acting through you, seeking more status, more resources, more dominance. Your intellect is just the PR department writing a nice press release for the beast's actions.
That is deeply unsettling. So my goals, my dreams, my ambition, that's all just this blind force wearing a mask.
Precisely. And this leads to what he calls the cycle of suffering. This is the core diagnosis. Schopenhauer argues that because we are driven by this insatiable will, we are trapped in a three-stage loop.
Walk us through the loop.
Stage 1 is desire or lack. You want something. You don't have it. That gap between wanting and having is experienced as pain. It might be subtle, like a low-level anxiety, or might be acute, like hunger or heartbreak. But wanting is fundamentally a form of suffering.
Okay, so wanting equals hurting.
Right. So you strive, you work, you struggle, and finally you get the thing. That's stage 2, satisfaction. But here's the kicker. Schopenhauer points out that satisfaction is almost always negative.
Negative, but getting what I want feels good.
Does it feel good, or does it just feel like the cessation of the pain? Think about wearing really tight shoes all day long. When you take them off, you feel this massive wave of pleasure. But that pleasure is just the absence of the pain of the shoes.
I see. It's relief. It's not adding something. It's just subtracting the annoyance.
Exactly. It's subtraction. And because it's just relief, it is fleeting. It fades instantly. You get the promotion. You feel great for maybe an afternoon. By the next morning, the relief is totally gone, which leads to stage 3.
Boredom.
Boredom. Or a new desire immediately pops up to take the empty space. You're back on the treadmill. You're back to wanting the next promotion or a bigger house or a different partner. The will is never satisfied. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom.
The hedonic treadmill. We are literally biologically wired to normalize whatever we have and immediately look for the next thing.
Yes. Schopenhauer calls life a business whose proceeds do not cover the costs. The effort you put in to satisfy your desires is huge, but the actual payout in happiness is tiny and fleeting.
Okay, stop. That is incredibly depressing. I feel like we've dug a hole and jumped in it. Life is a business that doesn't cover its costs. Why is this helpful to know?
Because it kills the delusion. If you accept this, if you accept that the world is not designed to make you happy, and that your own internal machinery is rigged to keep you dissatisfied, it actually lowers the stakes completely.
It takes the pressure off.
Completely.
Yeah.
If you go to a party expecting it to be the best night ever, you will likely be disappointed. If you go expecting to be loud, crowded, and slightly annoying, you might actually have a decent conversation and enjoy yourself. Schopenhauer helps us stop expecting the impossible.
So we accept the diagnosis. We are driven by a blind giant called the will. We are stuck in a loop of pain, brief relief, and boredom. Now please, give us the cure. This brings us to section 2 and our friend Epicurus.
The doctor is in.
Now Epicurus, the party guy. But you're telling me that's a rebrand we need to fix?
It's a total misunderstanding of his work. Epicurus did say that pleasure is the beginning and end of the blessed life. but we have to look at his definition of pleasure.
Because in our modern world, pleasure means dopamine. It means the notification bell on your phone, the sugar rush, the viral video, the impulse buy on Amazon.
Exactly. We define pleasure as positive satisfaction, adding something exciting to the mix. Epicurus defined pleasure as negative satisfaction.
There's that word negative again.
He means pleasure is the absence of pain. It is the removals of irritants. He had two specific goals: ataraxia, freedom from mental anxiety, and aponia, freedom from bodily pain.
So if I am not hungry, I am not thirsty, I am not freezing, and I am not terrified, I am in a state of maximum pleasure.
For Epicurus, yes, that is the absolute ceiling. He argued that once you satisfy the basic needs, you cannot actually increase your level of happiness. You can only vary it.
Wait, unpack that. You can't increase it, only vary it.
Think about hunger. If you are literally starving, a bowl of plain oatmeal is a 10 out of 10 pleasure. It saves your life. It removes the pain. Now imagine you are full and someone offers you a lobster dinner. It tastes different, sure, it's a different texture. But does it provide more relief than the oatmeal did when you were starving? No.
It's just decoration.
It's garnish. And Epicurus argues that chasing the garnish is exactly what makes us miserable. Because the garnish is hard to get. Oatmeal is cheap. Lobster's expensive. To get the lobster, you have to work harder, stress more, compete with others. You trade your ataraxia, your peace of mind, for a slight variation in flavor.
And that's a really bad trade.
It's a terrible trade. This is where the synthesis happens. Schopenhauer says positive happiness is an illusion, only pain is real. Epicurus says, okay, then the strategy for life should be to minimize pain, not chase the illusion of positive happiness.
We aren't trying to be happy. We are trying to be undisturbed.
Yes. The peaceful pessimist asks one fundamental question before every decision. Will this choice increase my calm, or will it stir up craving?
Okay, let's get practical, because don't chase lobster is a good metaphor, but we live in a world of infinite lobster. We have Amazon, Instagram, LinkedIn. Section 3, the toolkit. The notes mention radical desire management.
This is the Epicurean triage. Epicurus says we need to audit our desires. Every single time you want something, you have to pick it up and throw it into one of 3 baskets.
3 baskets. Let's go through them, and I really want to stress test these because I think modern life makes this incredibly tricky. Basket 1.
Natural and necessary. These are the non-negotiables. Food, water, shelter, basic clothing, safety, and crucially, friendship.
Friendship is a biological necessity.
For Epicurus, yes. Humans are social animals. Isolation causes literal psychic pain. So, friends, bread, water, a roof over your head.
Action plan for basket 1.
Satisfy them immediately. These desires have a natural off switch. When you eat, you stop being hungry. They're easy to satisfy, and they deliver true relief, that aponia we talked about.
Okay, basket 2. This is where I think most of us live our entire lives.
Natural, but unnecessary. These are the upgrades. You need food, which is basket 1, but you want a spicy tuna roll. That's basket 2. You need clothes, but you want the limited edition sneakers. Basket 2. You need shelter, but you want the loft apartment with the skyline view.
But wait, what about travel? I feel like travel expands the mind. It feels necessary for growth. Or what about a smartphone? You literally cannot function in society today without one. Is a smartphone basket 1 or basket 2?
That is the million-dollar question for the modern era. This is where the peaceful pessimist has to be incredibly honest with themselves. Epicurus would ask, does the absence of the smartphone cause physical pain or death? No. So strictly speaking, it's not basket 1. However, in our world, does the absence of a smartphone prevent you from securing basket 1, like getting a job to buy food?
Yes. Try getting a job without an email address or a phone number.
Exactly. So a basic smartphone might sneak into basket 1, but the iPhone Pro Max with a terabyte of storage, that is definitely basket 2. And checking Instagram every 10 minutes, that is sliding right into basket 3.
So the object itself isn't necessarily the problem, it's the version of it and our relationship to it.
Right. And here's the danger of basket 2. The desires in this basket are variations of necessary things, but they don't have a clear off switch.
Yeah.
You'd always have better food. You can always have a nicer hotel room.
And because they're harder to get, they bring anxiety.
Yes. They come with the tax. The tax is the constant fear of losing them and the huge effort required to keep them. So the advice for basket 2 is enjoy them if they happen to drop in your lap, but do not strive for them. If someone treats you to a fancy dinner, eat it. Enjoy it. But don't spend your whole week stressing about how to afford going there yourself.
Treat them with suspicion.
Treat them like a guest who is really fun at parties but might steal your silverware.
Okay, basket 3. The toxic basket.
Vain and empty. These are desires that are completely invented by society. They have absolutely no basis in biology. Fame, political power, excessive wealth, public admiration, revenge.
The legacy stuff, wanting to be an influencer.
Schopenhauer and Epicurus both hate these. Why? Because they are bottomless pits. There is no such thing as enough fame. There is no such thing as enough power.
The finish line just keeps moving.
And moves forever. And Schopenhauer would point out that these are the will's greatest traps. The will uses your ego to trick you into lifelong servitude. You will literally work yourself to death trying to be known, and the moment you die, the will just moves on to the next sucker.
So the action plan for basket 3.
Eradicate them. Cold turkey. Do not try to manage your desire for fame. Kill it. It serves no purpose other than to disturb your peace.
That is hard to hear. We are constantly told to leave a legacy, make your mark on the world. You're saying that desire is just a trap.
It's a vanity. It's an anxiety. Who cares if people know your name when you're dead? You won't be there to enjoy it.
Fair point. So the rule of thumb for the toolkit is to constantly ask, will this increase calm or stir craving?
Will this increase calm or stir craving? If you choose the calmer option, you are actively weakening the will. You are starving the giant.
I really love that image. Starving the giant. Let's move to section 4, daily practices. Because philosophy is great in the abstract, but I still have to get up tomorrow morning. How does a peaceful pessimist actually start their day?
We need to design an anti-will routine, and it starts the very moment you wake up.
Let me guess. No phone.
Absolutely no phone. Think about what the phone is. It is a portal to basket 3. It is endless news about power, fame, disaster, and other people's highlight reels. It is specifically designed to agitate the will. If you look at it first thing, you are inviting the giant into your bed before you've even brushed your teeth.
You wake up, then what?
Prime the mind. Read something short and timeless. A poem, a passage of nature writing, or honestly, just sit and look out the window. You want to start the day in a state of observation, not reaction.
Then we go to work. And this is tricky because most of us have to work to survive. We can't all hang out in a garden in ancient Athens eating figs.
True, but the attitude toward the work changes. You work to meet your natural and necessary needs, your basket 1. You do a good job because competence is calming. But you avoid ambition just for ambition's sake.
You essentially step off the corporate ladder?
Mentally, yes.
Yeah.
You view the rat race, the office politics, the gossip, the frantic striving for a new title as the chaotic churning of the will. You become like an anthropologist. You watch your boss screaming about a deadline, and instead of getting totally stressed out, you think, look, the will is manifesting as anxiety in him. How fascinating.
It creates this emotional distance.
Exactly. It separates you from the drama. You are no longer a participant in the madness. You are just an observer of it.
Now, this brings us to a specific technique from Schopenhauer that I found really compelling in the reading, but also kind of hard to grasp practically. The aesthetic break.
This is Schopenhauer's secret weapon. He believed that life is 99% suffering caused by the will. But he admitted there's that 1% of the time where we are actually free. And that happens during aesthetic contemplation.
Which means looking at art.
It means losing yourself in an object.
Okay, help me feel this. Because I look at things all day. I look at my computer screen. I look at the traffic on my commute.
But how do you look at them? You look at them in relation to you. You look at the traffic and think, this is slowing me down. You look at the coffee cup and think, I can use this to drink and get caffeine.
Yeah.
You are the subject. And the world is just a bunch of objects for you to use.
Right. I'm the main character in the video game.
Exactly. The will is always calculating, how does this help me? How does this hurt me?
Yeah.
But in aesthetic contemplation, whether it's listening to a symphony, looking at a painting, or honestly just staring at a tree, you stop calculating.
Let's try it right now. There's a microphone right in front of me.
Okay. Look at the microphone.
I see it. It's black. It's got a metal mesh grill. Stop.
You're already analyzing. It's black, is putting it in a category. It has a mesh grill as a description of its parts. You are engaging your intellect to categorize it. I want you to perceive it. Look at the way the light hits the curve of the metal. Look at the texture. Don't even name it in your head. Just be with the form.
Okay, I'm trying to just see the shape of the light on it.
In that moment right there, do you want anything?
No.
Are you worried about the runtime of this recording?
Not really. I'm just looking at the light reflecting off the metal.
That is the break. For that split second, you cease to be the host of this deep dive. You cease to be a striving individual with a mortgage and a massive to-do list. You became what Schopenhauer calls a pure, will-less subject of knowledge. The wheel stops spinning. The whip stops cracking.
It's peace.
It is the only true peace we get. And Schopenhauer says we need to intentionally schedule this. We need aesthetic pauses. Listen to a piece of music, but do not do anything else. Do not wash dishes while it plays. Just listen. Let the music completely take over your consciousness so the will has absolutely no room to operate.
It's almost like meditation, but instead of focusing inward on your breath, you're focusing entirely outward on an object.
Precisely. It's escaping the self by merging with something beautiful.
Okay, I am totally sold on the aesthetic break. Let's talk about the other big source of suffering. People. Section 5. Relationships. Because this is where our two philosophers have a bit of a lover's quarrel.
They do. They have a massive tension here. Schopenhauer is famous for his porcupine dilemma.
I love this image so much. Please explain the porcupines.
He says human beings are like porcupines in the dead of winter. We are cold, which represents loneliness, so we huddle together for warmth, which represents society. But when we get close, we prick each other with our quills.
The quills are what, exactly?
Their bad habits, their gossip, their rudeness, their conflicting wills. People are annoying, they create drama. So we get pricked and we pull away. But then out in the cold, we get lonely again. So we move back in. We are constantly oscillating between the pain of loneliness and the pain of social friction.
It's a lose-lose situation.
Schopenhauer's solution is basically, buy a coat. He says, a man can be himself only so long as he is alone. He thinks the pain of the quills is vastly worse than the cold. He advocates for extreme solitude.
The total hermit approach.
Yes. But Epicurus strongly disagrees. He says, are you crazy? Friendship is the highest good in life. He lived in a literal garden in Athens with a bunch of his friends. He thought isolation was a security risk and a massive source of misery.
So how do we synthesize the hermit and the socialite? They seem completely opposed here.
We find the middle path. We create the small circle. Schopenhauer is right that most people are just sources of noise and disturbance. The crowd, the massive networking event, the high school reunion, that is pure quill territory. Stay away from that. But Epicurus is right that we fundamentally need warmth. So the solution is to cultivate a very small, very highly curated group of porcupines.
Porcupines with dull quills.
Or porcupines who understand the dance. You need 3 or 4 deep, genuine friendships. Friends with whom you can have calm conversations, not status competitions. Friends who actively support your ataraxia.
So we eliminate the vain desire for popularity, which is basket 3. But we keep the natural need for connection, which is basket 1.
Exactly. And Schopenhauer adds a really beautiful layer to this, which often surprises people given how grumpy he is.
Compassion.
Compassion. From the guy who says existence is a mistake.
Yes. Because he believes we are all trapped by the will. When someone cuts you off in traffic, or your boss is rude, or your partner's being totally irrational, instead of getting angry, Schopenhauer says you should feel pity.
Pity? Really? He says, look at that poor fellow sufferer. He is being whipped by the will, just like I am. He is chasing a phantom happiness that he is never going to find.
We're all just fellow prisoners in the same gulag.
Exactly. It creates a very deep solidarity. You treat others with kindness, not because they are inherently good, but because they are suffering. But, and this is the vital Schopenhauer check, you maintain your emotional independence. You do not let their chaos become your chaos.
I have to ask about romance, because the notes in our research packet are stark. This is the no fun allowed section of the deep dive.
Yeah. If you are a hopeless romantic listening to this, you might want to cover your ears. Both philosophers are deeply, deeply skeptical of romantic love.
Schopenhauer calls it a biological trick.
He thinks love is just a massive delusion created by the will to trick you into reproducing. The will makes you think, this specific person is my absolute soulmate. I cannot live without them. Just long enough to get you to have a kid. Once the biological imperative is met, the illusion shatters, and you look across the breakfast table and think, who is this person, and why are they chewing their cereal so loudly?
That is incredibly cynical.
It is. And Epicurus isn't much better on this topic. He sees romance as fundamentally disturbing. The extreme highs and lows, the jealousy, the passion, it is the mortal enemy of ataraxia. You cannot be tranquil when you are obsessively checking your phone to see if they texted you back.
So what is a peaceful pessimist advice here? Just die alone.
No. The advice is demote romance, promote friendship. If you are in a relationship, try to turn it into a deep, abiding friendship. Minimize the drama. Avoid romantic obsession.
So stability is the new sexy.
I love you because you are a stable partner who does not disturb my peace. It doesn't exactly fit on a Hallmark card.
Yeah.
But it makes for a very happy, very calm life.
Moving on to section 6, mindset shifts. We have to tackle the big existential dreads now. Fear of death and fear of boredom.
The heavy hitters of human anxiety.
Let's start with death. Epicurus has a logic puzzle for this that I've always found kind of fascinating.
It's brilliant in its absolute simplicity. He says, why fear death? When I am, death is not. When death is, I am not.
Walk me through the mechanics of that.
To fear experiencing something, you have to be there to experience it. You fear going to the dentist because you will be sitting in the chair while the drill is happening. But death is the complete cessation of the you. You will never actually meet death. You will be alive, 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 and then you just won't be. You won't be floating around in a void saying, oh no, I'm dead, this is terrible.
So it's completely irrational to fear a state of non-existence. It's like fearing the year 1800. I wasn't there then, and it didn't hurt.
Exactly. You already didn't exist for billions of years before you were born, and it didn't bother you at all. And Schopenhauer adds his own metaphysical layer to this. He says death is just the end of the illusion of individuality. Remember, we are all just tiny waves in the massive ocean of the will. When you die, the wave simply crashes back into the water. The water is still there. The will continues. But the ego, the part of you that worries about taxes and social status and bad hair days, gets to finally rest.
That actually sounds very restful.
It is. He viewed death as a release from the penal colony of existence. So the combined view from both of them is, don't panic. It's either peaceful nothingness, according to Epicurus, or a peaceful return to the source, according to Schopenhauer. Either way, the suffering stops.
Now, boredom. This is the one that hits me the hardest. I'm terrified of boredom.
We all are. In the modern world, we treat boredom like it's a terminal disease. The second there is a lull in a conversation or we are waiting for an elevator, out comes the phone. We treat a quiet moment like an absolute emergency.
What is the peaceful pessimist view on that?
The synthesis view is that boredom is just the sound of the will complaining. It's the beast realizing it isn't being fed with new stimulation.
It's the giant grumbling.
Yes. And if you immediately feed it with a TikTok video or a snack or a text message, you are rewarding the beast. You are literally training it to scream louder the next time.
So we just have to let it scream.
You have to sit with it.
Yeah.
We need to completely reframe boredom. Instead of thinking, I am bored, something is wrong, think, I am bored, which means I am safe. I am not in pain. I am not running from a predator. I am in a pure state of potential.
Boredom is a luxury.
It is a massive luxury, and it is the gateway to the aesthetic break. If you suppress boredom constantly, you never get to the deep thoughts. You never get to the creativity. You have to endure the initial uncomfortable itch of boredom to get to the tranquility on the other side.
So next time I'm in a waiting room at the doctor's office, don't check the phone. Just wait.
Just wait. Look at the carpet pattern. Practice the look-attend method we talked about with the microphone. Turn the boredom into contemplation.
Okay, we are arriving at section 7, the final synthesis. We've built the toolkit. We have the diagnosis of the will, the 3 baskets of triage, the anti-will routine, the small circle of relationships. Let's summarize what it means to actually be a peaceful pessimist.
It is ultimately a paradox.
How so?
By accepting that life is inherently difficult, which is Schopenhauer's view, and by expecting very little from the world, you actually end up enjoying what you have infinitely more, which is Epicurus's goal.
It's managing the gap between expectation and reality.
Happiness equals reality minus expectations. If your baseline expectation is the world should make me a billionaire superstar and every day should be a party, your reality will always disappoint you. You will be miserable even sitting on a luxury yacht.
But if your expectation is life is suffering and I will probably be hungry and cold,
then a simple cheese sandwich and a chat with a good friend feels like a literal miracle. The pessimism protects the peace. It creates a solid floor. You can't fall out of the basement.
I love that phrase. You can't fall out of the basement. It's incredibly secure. So we have a 4-week starter plan in the notes to get people going on this. Let's run through it quickly. Week 1.
Week 1 is declutter pleasures. Look at your baskets. Specifically, identify the hangovers. What are you doing that feels good right now but bad later?
Doom scrolling at midnight. Drinking on a Tuesday. Buying clothes online that I definitely don't need.
Eliminate 2 of them.
Yeah.
Just 2. Prove to yourself you can do it and survive without them.
Week 2?
Week 2 is add aesthetic pauses. Don't change anything else about your routine.
Yeah.
Just add 15 minutes a day of pure, non-striving observation. Listen to a whole album without looking at a screen. Go to a park and stare at a tree for 10 minutes.
Train the break. Week 3.
Week 3 is practice restraint. This is the aesthetic flex. Fast from an ingrained habit. Skip a meal if it's medically safe for you. Leave your phone turned off in a drawer for a full Saturday.
What's the point of this? Just to make ourselves suffer.
To prove to the will that you are actually in charge. When the giant screams, I want food or I want information, and you calmly say no, you build a mental muscle. You strengthen the intellect against the blind drive.
And finally, week 4.
Week 4 is social calibration. Curate the garden, look honestly at your friends. Who drains you? Who calms you? Shift your schedule to spend 80% of your social time with the calm ones.
And politely distance yourself from the drama magnet.
You don't have to be mean about it. Just be busy. Sorry, I can't make it to the huge party. I have a date with a tree.
So let's wrap this deep dive up. Why does this ancient and 19th century philosophy matter right now? Why dig up these dead guys in 2026?
Because we are currently living in the absolute age of the will. Think about it. Hyper-consumerism, algorithmic feeds that are literally engineered to addict us. FOMO, hustle culture. Optimize your life, maximize your potential. Everything in our modern society is perfectly designed to inflame the will.
We are being poked by the giant 24/7.
And look at the result. We are totally exhausted. We are anxious. We are heavily medicated. We have more access to pleasure than any generation in human history. And yet we seem to have way less ataraxia.
So taking this path is really a rebellion.
It is a radical rebellion. To sit still in a quiet room, perfectly content with what you have, is the most countercultural thing you can possibly do today. It is saying, I refuse to play a game that is rigged, so I cannot win.
I want to leave you with a final thought to take away from this. We've talked about the blind giant a lot this hour, but there's another part of that analogy from Schopenhauer that we saved specifically for the end.
Yes. Schopenhauer describes the human condition as a blind giant who is strong, tireless, and totally driven, carrying a lame cripple on his shoulders.
And the cripple represents the intellect, the thinking, rational part of us, the part of you that's listening to this deep dive right now.
Yes. The cripple can see. He can see the cliff ahead. He can see the beauty of the landscape. He can understand the philosophy we just discussed. But he is physically weak.
Yeah.
The giant, the will, is the one doing all the walking.
And most of us just let the giant decide where to go. We let our blind urges drive, and our intellect just sits on top and rationalizes it after the fact. Like, oh, I ate the whole cake because I had a hard day at work.
Exactly. The cripple just makes up excuses for the giant's destructive behavior. The challenge, the final provocative thought for you to explore on your own, is this. What would happen if, just for today, you let the lame cripple take the reins?
Use your sight to guide the boot strength?
Exactly. The giant has no idea where he is going.
You do.
Every single time you consciously categorize a desire into a basket, every time you choose a simple pleasure over a complex one, every time you stare at a coffee mug instead of checking your stock portfolio, you are using your vision to actively guide the beast.
You aren't killing the giant. You can't kill him.
No. But you can guide him. You can steer him away from the edge of the cliff and guide him safely into the garden.
Into the garden. I really love that. Listeners, we hope you find your own garden this week, even if it's just a quiet corner of the break room at the office or taking a walk around the block without your AirPods in. Find the quiet, manage your baskets, try being a peaceful pessimist.
And enjoy the simple bread and water. I promise, it tastes way better than you think.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.